Somewhere, deep in the fabric of your being, a question echoes, a question you didn't ask, but one that waits for you to answer. Are you ready to hear the voice that's been calling you all along? Have you ever felt a whisper in the silence? A voice not your own, yet deeply familiar? Something ancient, wise, and patient, waiting just beyond the veil of ordinary perception? What if that voice wasn't your imagination, but a forgotten part of you? Or something else? Throughout history, mystics, prophets, and sages have spoken of voices that come from beyond the mind, messages from divine realms, ancestral spirits, celestial beings, and higher selves. They called it divine inspiration, prophecy, or oracular trance. Today, we call it channeling. But make no mistake, channeling is not a party trick, nor is it confined to the gifted few. It is an ancient art, a sacred technology of the soul. And it is your birthright. In this journey, you won't be learning how to talk to spirits in the way pop culture has reduced it. Instead, you'll begin to remember what your deeper consciousness already knows, how to quiet the mind and become a vessel, an instrument through which wisdom can flow like a river. But here's the truth they won't tell you in most books or trendy videos. Channeling is not just about speaking with angels or entities, it is about listening with your whole being. It's about becoming porous, permeable to the unseen currents of reality. You don't perform channeling. You become it. In this video, we will peel back the layers of history to uncover the sacred origins of this practice. You'll discover why ancient temples considered the act of channeling a holy rite, why modern society fears it, and why the veil between worlds is thinner now than ever before. We'll then guide you through the mystical architecture of channeling, from tuning your inner frequency to recognizing the subtle signature of non-physical intelligences. And finally, you'll receive practical methods to take your very first steps, real techniques rooted in ancient wisdom, adapted for modern seekers. So, if you've ever wondered what it truly means to channel, if you've sensed that your thoughts aren't always yours, if you've felt the stirring of something beyond the veil calling your name, then stay with me. The doorway is opening. Channeling, as we understand it today, is a direct lineage of ancient practices. This sacred art was not discovered in the modern age, but rather, it has been passed down through millennia, concealed beneath layers of history and forgotten wisdom. For as long as there have been humans with an awareness of the divine, there have been those who felt called to step beyond the material world and into the realm of higher consciousness. One of the earliest known references to channeling is found in the Oracle of Delphi, the high priestess Pythia, who entered a trance to relay the messages of Apollo. But channeling is not merely a Western practice. Across ancient civilizations, the ability to communicate with gods, spirits, and ancestors was regarded as a divine gift, one that connected the mundane world with the ineffable mysteries of the cosmos. In ancient Egypt, the seer priests would channel the wisdom of the gods by entering deep meditative states. They were the keepers of the Book of the Dead, which spoke of the journey beyond life, navigating the realms of the afterlife with the guidance of the gods. In the Hindu tradition, the rishis were considered to be divinely inspired sages, channeling the profound wisdom of the Vedas through their deep meditative practices, which we still seek to understand today. In Africa, shamans and spiritual leaders would enter trance states to commune with the spirit world, using their voices as a conduit for ancestral wisdom, healing, and prophecy. But why, you might ask, has this practice been so obscured in modern times? Why are we only just rediscovering it now? The answer lies in the ebb and flow of human consciousness, the rise and fall of civilizations. As the world became more materialistic, scientific, and rational, these esoteric practices were often relegated to the realm of superstition, fear, and misunderstanding. In many cultures, spiritual channeling became demonized, viewed as a form of madness or possession. The early Christian Church, for example, condemned the practice as witchcraft and heresy. In this environment, knowledge of how to channel was hidden, passed down in secret, often in the form of coded texts and mystical rituals. Yet, through all of this, the sacred art endured. It survived in pockets, in the underground mysteries, in the whispers of mystics, visionaries, and oracles. The Sufis in the Middle East, the Gnostics in early Christianity, the Kabbalists in Judaism, all of them carried forward the flame of channeled wisdom, though it often had to be practiced in the shadows. But this wisdom has never truly been lost. It is embedded in the very fabric of reality, in the silence between thoughts, in the stillness of the heart. And now, in this modern age, we are entering an era of revelation. We are waking up to the fact that we, too, have the ability to channel. That the wisdom of the ancients is not a forgotten relic, but a living, breathing force that can be accessed again. What was once concealed is now being revealed. And so, we stand at the threshold of rediscovery. The spiritual veil is thinning, as human consciousness ascends to higher frequencies of understanding, leaving behind the limitations of materialism. With this shift, the practice of channeling is making its return to the collective consciousness. Now that we have briefly touched on the deep historical context of channeling, let us move forward and explore the core concepts that will guide you through your own initiation into this sacred practice. For the mysteries are waiting to be unlocked, not in dusty books or faraway temples, but within you. Now that we've explored the rich history and philosophical underpinnings of channeling, we must turn our attention inward. For to channel is not simply to connect with the divine or the unseen world, it is to awaken to a deeper part of yourself, a level of consciousness where the barriers between you and the cosmos dissolve. Channeling is a sacred dance of attunement, an art of listening deeply and allowing the wisdom that flows from the unseen to pass through you. At its core, channeling is about frequency. The universe operates on a multitude of vibrational frequencies, each one representing a different layer of existence. Everything, every thought, feeling, and object, is a frequency in motion. The key to channeling is learning to tune your own inner frequency to the higher, subtler frequencies of the unseen realms. This is not as mystical as it sounds. In fact, it is rooted in the simplest yet most profound of human experiences, attention. When you focus intently on something, you shift your energy. You become more attuned to that thing. Whether you're gazing at a beautiful sunset or listening intently to a song, your attention shapes your perception. In channeling, this process is magnified. The more you focus, the more you become attuned to subtle energies. So how do you begin? The first step in channeling is to create the right space, both externally and internally. You must craft an environment where distractions are minimized and where you can enter a state of heightened sensitivity. This could mean sitting in a quiet room, meditating, or engaging in a ritual that helps you clear your mind. But the true work of channeling begins within. To channel, you must learn to silence the constant chatter of your own mind. We live in a world of constant noise, both external and internal, and the mind is often filled with thoughts, fears, and desires that cloud our ability to perceive higher frequencies. To hear the voices from beyond the veil, you must learn to listen deeply. The practice of stilling your mind is paramount. One powerful technique to begin this process is known as the sacred pause. This is a simple yet profound practice of momentarily suspending all thought, judgment, and attachment to the present moment. Imagine it as a brief moment of complete stillness. To enter the sacred pause, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and focus entirely on the sensation of your breath as it moves in and out. Allow yourself to let go of any thoughts or distractions. This space between breaths, where the mind is empty and silent, is the first gateway to the channeled state. Here, your consciousness is no longer bound by the material world, and the subtle energies can begin to flow through. Once you've cultivated this space of stillness, you can begin to ask questions, specific, focused questions that align with the guidance you seek. It's important not to demand answers immediately. Like tuning an instrument, the frequency must align over time. The first steps are always about cultivating a relationship with the unseen, the voices, the guides, or the divine energies that wish to communicate. However, it's vital to recognize a truth that many channelers often overlook. The answers you receive may not always be as direct or obvious as you expect. The higher realms do not always speak in words. They may communicate through symbols, visions, emotions, or even gut feelings. It's important to trust the subtle impressions you receive, even if they don't initially make sense. You may experience a deep knowing, a sense of clarity, or an intuitive pull toward something specific. This is all part of the process of channeling. In addition to this, let's also discuss the concept of the mental filter. When channeling, the mind acts as both a receiver and a filter. Just as a radio picks up frequencies and translates them into sound, so too does your mind interpret the frequencies it receives. This is why two different people can channel the same entity or energy and yet receive slightly different messages. Your mental, emotional, and spiritual state shapes how you interpret the information coming through. Therefore, cultivating clarity, purity of intention, and emotional balance is crucial to ensuring that the message you receive is as clear as possible. This brings us to another critical aspect of channeling, discernment. As you begin to receive messages, you must learn to discern whether the source is aligned with your highest good. Channeling is not just about opening yourself to anything and everything. It is about opening to that which is pure, loving, and truth-bearing. As a beginner, you may feel tempted to accept any voice or message that arises. But over time, you will develop an inner radar, a spiritual discernment that helps you identify the nature of what you're connecting with. Now that we have touched on the foundational concepts of channeling, it's time to explore some of the deeper mysteries, advanced techniques, and the subtle nuances that transform a beginner into a true channeler. It's easy to think of channeling as simply receiving messages from a spirit, but the deeper truth is that channeling involves a profound interplay between your consciousness, the unseen realms, and the very structure of reality itself. At its most advanced level, channeling is not just about receiving information, it's about experiencing a shift in consciousness. The messages you receive are reflections of your own spiritual growth, and as you channel, you evolve. In this way, channeling is a mirror, a reflection of your own spiritual state. As you refine your ability to listen and receive, you also refine your capacity to become the channel itself. One of the most powerful aspects of channeling lies in its connection to archetypes and myth. Across cultures, the mythic stories of gods, goddesses, and heroes serve as allegories for deeper spiritual truths. These archetypes embody aspects of the divine and the human experience, and they are often the language through which higher entities communicate with us. When you channel, you may begin to recognize these archetypal energies and symbols emerging in your experience. For example, let's say you are channeling a message from a divine being. Instead of receiving direct words, you might experience a vision of a figure who embodies wisdom, perhaps a wise old sage, or a goddess who represents knowledge and transformation. This figure is not just a symbol but a vehicle for transmitting a deeper spiritual message. The imagery, the symbolism, and the archetype become a gateway through which divine knowledge flows. Understanding these symbols and how they relate to your personal journey is a crucial aspect of channeling. This is where channeling can begin to get truly mystical. The messages you receive may be metaphorical, poetic, or layered with hidden meanings. To understand them, you must learn to interpret their essence, not just their surface. Just as ancient texts were often written in symbolic language, the information channeled to you may require a degree of decoding. This is why your practice of discernment becomes so critical. You're not just passively receiving, you're engaging with the message, interpreting it through your own consciousness and understanding. A crucial point here is to remember that not all entities or beings you might channel are of the same spiritual caliber. Some may carry wisdom and love, while others may carry agendas or seek to manipulate. The temptation to channel powerful or exotic entities is common among beginners, but it's essential to cultivate the wisdom to choose only those beings who resonate with your highest spiritual good. This brings us to an important truth: boundaries. Just as in the physical world, spiritual boundaries are essential. Channeling is an art that requires respect for yourself, for the energies you are connecting with, and for the sacred space you are creating. You must be clear about the intentions behind your practice. Are you channeling for guidance, healing, or growth? Or are you channeling out of curiosity or a desire for control? Your intentions shape the quality of the connection. An advanced technique to ensure safe and clear channeling is the practice of protection rituals. Before attempting to channel, create a sacred space by calling upon divine protection, whether you invoke angels, spirit guides, or your higher self. This act of invocation creates a shield around you, ensuring that only the highest and most loving energies can reach you. It also serves to heighten your own energetic frequency, allowing you to be a clearer conduit. Another aspect of advanced channeling is the integration of the messages you receive. Channeling does not end when the message has been delivered. The real work begins after the session. How do you integrate the wisdom that's come through? How do you live in alignment with the messages, lessons, or guidance you've received? This is where channeling truly becomes a transformative practice. It is not enough to simply receive, you must become the wisdom, allowing it to shape and guide your life. For example, if you've channeled a message about personal growth and self-empowerment, your task is not just to listen to the message and then forget about it. You must take those insights into your daily life, weaving them into your actions, decisions, and relationships. As you do this, you will begin to notice a deeper alignment with your higher self, as well as greater clarity and peace. Channeling, in its most profound form, is a journey of self-transcendence. It is the process of shedding the layers of ego, doubt, and fear that block your connection to the divine, and learning to live from a place of deep inner knowing. In time, you will realize that the voices you channel are not separate from you, they are a reflection of your own soul, your own truth, and your own divine nature. Now that we've delved into the deeper mechanics and philosophies of channeling, it's time to bring this ancient art into your everyday life. Channeling is not just for spiritual seekers or gifted mystics, it is a tool you can use to enhance your own consciousness, gain clarity, and align with higher wisdom. However, as with any sacred practice, there are real-world techniques, steps, and practices you must follow to create a successful and meaningful experience. First and foremost, you must begin by establishing a daily practice, a sacred ritual that centers you. Without regularity and devotion, channeling remains a fleeting experience. Just as a musician must practice their instrument daily, a channeler must train their mind, body, and spirit to attune to higher frequencies. Creating sacred space. The foundation of any channeling practice is to create a space that invites calmness, focus, and reverence. This can be a corner of your room, a quiet spot outdoors, or any space where you feel safe and undisturbed. The key is to make it sacred, a space that you associate with spiritual connection. Start by cleansing the energy of the space. This could involve lighting a candle or incense, burning sage, or even using sound to clear the air, like a bell, chimes, or a singing bowl. This process removes stagnant energies and creates a pure environment for the messages you're about to receive. Preparing your mind and body. Before you begin channeling, it is essential to quiet the mind and prepare the body. This is where meditation becomes indispensable. Spend at least 10 to 15 minutes in meditation, focusing on your breath and bringing yourself into a centered state. This practice allows you to let go of any distractions or emotional clutter, making it easier to perceive subtle energies. As you meditate, gently set your intention. What is it that you wish to receive? It's essential to have a clear intention, whether you're seeking guidance, wisdom, or healing. Without a focused intention, channeling becomes aimless. Your mind will wander, and the subtle impressions will be harder to interpret. Intention acts like a compass, directing the flow of energy. Asking the right questions. Once you're centered, you may begin to ask your questions. But here's the key: be specific. Broad questions like, "What is the meaning of life?" are difficult to channel because they are too vague. Instead, ask clear, direct questions that align with your current needs or spiritual growth. For example, what guidance do I need to move forward in my career? Or, how can I heal my emotional wounds from the past? The clearer your question, the clearer the message will be. Remember, the higher realms respond to your focus and clarity. So, take time to sit with your question and make sure it resonates deeply within you. The more it comes from your heart, the more powerful the connection will be. Receiving the message. Now, we enter the space of true listening. Close your eyes and allow the silence to envelop you. Trust that the answer will come in the form of images, symbols, feelings, or even words. You may hear a voice in your mind, or you may simply feel a surge of understanding, a knowing that fills your awareness. The most important aspect of receiving is trust. Don't second-guess yourself. The messages you receive may not always come in clear sentences, but may instead be fragments or symbols. Your job is to be open and receptive, allowing whatever comes through to be expressed. If you begin to receive an image, symbol, or feeling, focus on it. Ask it to unfold and reveal its meaning. Don't force it, but allow it to emerge naturally, like a flower blooming. If the message is unclear, ask for clarification. Trust that the more you practice, the clearer the communication will become. Grounding and integration. After the session, it's crucial to ground yourself. Channeling can sometimes leave you feeling lightheaded or scattered, as your energy may have shifted into a higher frequency. To ground yourself, simply take a few deep breaths, stretch, and reconnect with your physical body. Walk around, touch something solid, and feel your feet on the ground. Then, take time to integrate the message you received. This can involve journaling, reflecting, or meditating on the message. Write down any symbols, words, or insights you received. Over time, you will begin to see patterns and deeper meanings in your own experiences. Overcoming common pitfalls. Like any spiritual practice, channeling comes with its challenges. One of the most common pitfalls is doubt. You might second-guess the messages you receive, thinking they are just your imagination. The key to overcoming doubt is practice and trust. The more you channel, the more you will learn to discern between your own thoughts and true guidance. Another common challenge is distractions. In the modern world, distractions are endless, whether from technology, stress, or external pressures. This is why creating sacred space and dedicating time to your practice is essential. Without a quiet space, your mind will struggle to focus. Lastly, impatience can be a hurdle. Channeling doesn't always yield immediate answers, and sometimes it takes time for the messages to unfold. Trust that the universe knows when you're ready for the information, and be patient with the process. As we close this exploration into the first steps of channeling, it's important to reflect on what we've learned. Channeling is not just an external act of connecting with otherworldly entities or higher beings. It is a journey of profound inner transformation. It is about attuning your consciousness, refining your ability to listen, and opening yourself to the subtle energies that flow through the universe. In many ways, the process of channeling mirrors the path of spiritual growth. Just as a plant must first root itself in the soil before reaching for the sky, so too must you ground yourself in stillness, clarity, and intention before you can fully soar into the realms of higher wisdom. Each step you take on this path deepens your connection with yourself and the divine, helping you shed the layers of doubt and fear that block your true potential. The messages you receive through channeling are reflections of your own spiritual state, guiding you toward deeper truths, personal growth, and a greater alignment with the divine. Over time, these messages will become clearer, more precise, and more profound, as you refine your practice and your connection to the unseen realms. But remember, the most important part of channeling is not the messages themselves. It is the wisdom you glean from them, the inner transformation they inspire, and the way they help you live a life of deeper meaning and purpose. As you continue to cultivate this practice, I invite you to approach it with patience, reverence, and an open heart. Channeling is not a quick fix or a mystical shortcut. It is a sacred art that unfolds gradually, revealing deeper truths with every step. Trust the process, trust yourself, and trust the divine guidance that is always available to you. If this journey resonates with you, I encourage you to dive deeper, experiment, and explore further. Whether through meditation, sacred rituals, or simply listening more intently to the world around you, the divine is always speaking, waiting for you to listen. As you embark on your channeling journey, I leave you with one final thought. What message is waiting for you to receive today? The answer is closer than you think.